Next, we have the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Anishinaabe Nation. The spot where we gather is the traditional lands of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ottawa, Potawatomi, Ojibwe. We also recognize that this land is home to the Delaware Nation. This land was settled through the McKee Purchase Treaty of 1790, and we, as beneficiaries of the treaty, must recognize our responsibilities, including our responsibilities to the land and water. Mr. Mayor, we have no supplementary agenda. We have 2 disclosures of pecuniary interest. Councillor Story has a conflict with items 12A and 12E, and Councillor C. McGregor has a conflict with item 18C.
At this point, we'll move on to recognitions. And unfortunately, Abby Stonehouse was unable to be here tonight, so I'll pass over to Councillor Sakachi to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. As we all know, that Team Canada won gold in the IIHF Under-18 Women's World Hockey Championship. Blenheim native Abby Stonehouse played a very integral role in that championship, finishing with 2 goals and 2 assists. Unfortunately, she's not able to be here because she is at hockey tryouts. But on behalf of the mayor, yourself, and council, and the whole entire municipality, we're extremely proud and just offer a great round of applause.
Move on to item 12, planning.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. The process to be followed for each application will be as follows. 1, the clerk will announce each individual planning item. 2, the mayor will ask if there's anyone present other than the applicant and or their agent with an interest in the application, and to indicate so by raising their hand. 3, the clerk will advise if anyone is present virtually wishing to speak to the application, or if written or video submissions have been received. 4, if someone other than the applicant or the applicant's agent indicates an interest in the item, there will be a presentation by administration. 5, individuals with an interest in the application other than the applicant will be asked to proceed to the podium, provide their name and address, and address council. 6, the applicant will then be asked if they wish to proceed to the podium and address council. 7, administration will be asked if they have any comments based on any discussion that may have occurred. And 8, council will be asked what action it wishes to take with regard to the item. Notice, if any person or public body that files an appeal of a decision of council in respect to the proposed applications does not make oral or written submission to the municipal clerk before the proposal is approved, they are not entitled to appeal a decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal, if otherwise eligible, unless in the opinion of the tribunal there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party to the appeal. Information on council's actions tonight will be posted on the municipal website. All persons who have made a request or who have made an oral or written submission regarding a particular planning item will receive a notice of council's decision, including appeal procedures. Any other person who wishes to receive a notice of decision must submit a written request to the municipal clerk. Thank you.
Item 12A, application for consent and zoning bylaw amendment, Wecker Farms Limited, 68356 Line East, Community of Raleigh, South Kent.
Councillor Sakachi and Councillor Thompson, can you move this, please?
So moved, Mayor Caniff.
And seconded.
Any questions regarding this? Seeing none, we'll put it to vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes 16-0. Item 12B, application for consent and zoning bylaw amendment, Sherry Lynn Brady, 8183 11th Line, Community of Raleigh, South Kent.
Councillor Thompson and Councillor Doyle, can I get you to move this, please?
So moved.
Seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes 16-0. Our next item is item 12C, application for consent. Michael Burke, 95 Cathcart Street, Community of Blenheim, South Kent.
Councillor Doyle and Councillor Sakatchi, can I just move this, please?
Happy to move that.
So seconded.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to vote.
All votes are in and motion passes 16-0. Next item is application for zoning bylaw amendment J. Fanton Enterprise Limited, 38 Queen Street North, Community of Tilbury, West Kent.
Councillor Anderson and Councillor McGrail, can I get you to move this, please?
Happy to move. And I'll second.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to vote.
All votes are in and motion passes 16-0. The next item, 12E, application for zoning bylaw amendment Gregory Dennis and Steve Van Eldick, 38 Talbot Street West, Community of Blenheim, South Kent.
Councillor Sakatchi and Councillor Thompson, can I just move this, please?
So moved, Your Worship.
And seconded.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to vote.
All votes are in and motion passes 16-0. The next item, 12F, zoning bylaw amendment, temporary outdoor patio extensions.
Councillor Hall and Councillor Finn, can I get you to move this, please?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to vote.
All votes are in and motion passes 16-0. The next item is 12G, zoning bylaw amendment, large-scale greenhouses.
Councillor Thompson and Councillor B. McGregor, can I get you to put this on the floor, please?
Ooh, hang on. I was going to move it with an amendment. I just have to pull that amendment up. This is the, yes. I would move recommendation 1, and then I would add that the notice of a public meeting be given to consider amending the zoning bylaw to regulate the location of large-scale greenhouses between 300 meters and 750 meters from the village residential zone.
And Councillor B. McGregor, will you second that?
So seconded.
Ryan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a presentation unless there are any questions for council.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll let you off easy, Ryan. We'll put this to vote.
All votes are in and motion passes 16-0. And our last planning application, 12H, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment for housing.
Councillor C. McGregor and Councillor Crew, can I get you to move this, please?
Certainly. Second.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to vote. Councillor Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just have a question for this. So with regards to all of the public regulations that have came down the pipeline with regards to this, is there really anything that we can do to stop any of this, or is this just we're following orders from the provincial government kind of thing?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. If you're referring to the regulations that have been introduced through the provincial More Homes Built Faster Act, Bill 23, we are required to comply with those legislative requirements.
Okay, so my understanding, this kind of brings our policy up to meet that policy.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
We'll put it to vote now.
All votes are in and motion passes 17-0. We'll move on to deputations for items on the current agenda. We have 16 deputations in total, and we will start with Rob Petro. He's on item 17B.
Good evening, Mayor and members of Chatham-Kent Municipal Council. On behalf of the Ontario Greenhouse Vegetable Growers, and specifically growers in Chatham-Kent, I would like to convey support for the Chatham-Kent Lighting Bylaw. Chatham-Kent's Lighting Bylaw is the culmination of thoughtful consultation, critical collaboration, and wise forethought to ensure the benefit of the community and the future of farming. Chatham-Kent is composed of farming communities that are adapting with high technology, high efficiency to feed Canadians and fortify food security. Across Canada, the introduction of lighting has extended growing greenhouse vegetables from prolonged seasons to a year-round endeavor. Year-round growing keeps Canadian agriculture competitive with countries that have low-cost inputs and decreases Canada's food production off-season. By extending highly efficient growing seasons, greenhouse vegetable production helps to provide food security for citizens of Chatham-Kent, Ontario, Canada, and North America. The evolution of the greenhouse vegetable sector provides highly skilled, high-tech jobs in automation, energy efficiency, and computer control. The technological advancement in greenhouse agriculture is why today Ontario greenhouse vegetable sector accounts for over $1.3 billion in farm gate sales, generating over $2.3 billion in GDP, directly benefiting communities across the province. OGVG represents a dozen growers in Chatham-Kent area that farm around 500 acres of greenhouse tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. The farming jobs and spin-offs contribute to over 3,000 jobs within the municipality through growing and the affiliated supply chain. Chatham-Kent greenhouse vegetable growers live, farm, and raise their families in Chatham-Kent communities, allowing growers to supplement natural sunlight unabated from sunrise to sunset and not overnight increases efficiency of farming and adoption of new and novel farming, here lighting, practices. The proposed bylaw ensures the continued technological evolution of efficient agriculture today and into the future. In closing, Ontario greenhouse vegetable growers are in support of the proposed lighting bylaw and the food security it provides. While not perfect, as no law ever is, the bylaw provides a timeline allowing the opportunity to focus on education over enforcement, partnership over hostility, and respect over antagonism to garner support from all farmers when the bylaw takes effect. In short, the bylaw protects and balances the rights of the community and its farming members. The bylaw ensures the future sustainability of agriculture, benefiting Chatham-Kent communities with fresh, nutritious, and delicious fruits and vegetables produced locally 365 days a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next four deputations are on item 18A, the tax policy, and the first speaker is Jim Brackett. That's going to be followed by Brad Snowdlin.
Thanks very much for the opportunity to speak on this issue tonight. I'd like to address the mayor and the Chatham-Kent councilors regarding the farm tax ratio. I want to take this opportunity as well to introduce the recently incorporated Chatham-Kent Property Rights Association to you. Our mission is to preserve property rights as it relate to ownership, management practices, and food security in Chatham-Kent. The Chatham-Kent Property Rights Association wants to address the recent motion to increase the farm tax ratio to 23% from 22% by Councillor Anderson, and to take this ratio to 25 eventually. It has been suggested that farmers have all been doing well lately and should pay more. And while property tax is not an income tax, in the last year, commodity prices have dropped 15 to 20%, but expenses have not, including the 35% tariff on fertilizers, which we are the only G7 country that has that tariff on them, and that's continuing this year. And they're not getting that money back. It's been decided by the government. We have carbon taxes increases this year, and the result is narrower margins in the farming industry. It has been stated by a councillor that Bill C-234 has been passed, eliminating the carbon tax for barn and greenhouse heating and grain drying fuel. However, it still has to be passed by the Senate, and therefore is not close to being a law yet. The last time it was in Senate, I think the election was called and the issue got dropped. This increase has been tabled several times in council over the years, and the council has commented on waiting until the impact numbers are in. We are operating on 2016, as you all know, impact numbers right now. In Appendix D of the 2022 BMA study, participants with a farm tax ratio less than 0.25, which is stated in 18A attachment of the April 24th agenda for tonight, the municipal tax ratio is less than 0.25 in 18 municipalities. 16 of those 18 are areas with high impact assessments and excellent high value cropland, like Chatham-Kent, returning high real tax dollars to their respective municipalities. Conversely, many of the regions at 25% have lower value assessments, producing lower real tax dollars. So in closing, we recommend deferring any changes to the farm tax ratio until the next impact assessment is released. So please consider your food security and the overall health of this industry, the farming industry, and vote no to this motion. Thank you, and I am the Vice President of the Chatham-Kent Rights Association. Thank you very much.
Next up is Brad Snoblin, and then the Chatham-Kent Essex Christian Farmers.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. I'm here tonight to talk about the property tax ratio. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay. The Kent Federation of Agriculture would like to respond to Councillor Anderson's motion to increase the farm tax ratio to 0.23 with her expressed interest to take it to 0.25, the maximum allowable. This issue has been brought to council many times in the last few years. Since 2012, agricultural land's tax burden has more than doubled. There are only two factors that impact the property tax burden of a particular property class like farmland. The first is how impact assessment for farmland changes relative to the other types of property. And the second is the decision of council around the property tax ratio. In 2012, council made the decision to lower the farm tax ratio in response to surging impact valuations. Despite lowering the farm tax ratio from 0.25 to 0.22 in 2012, the tax burden for farmers has risen every single year. That is how significant the impact assessment has been. Over the past two impact assessment cycles, farmland values have risen at a much higher rate than residential, commercial, or industrial property in Chatham-Kent. As a result, farmers have gone from paying 5.6% of the property tax levy in 2012 to 11.6% of the levy in 21. My sheets are out of order. During the same time period, the tax burden for residential, commercial, industrial properties have gone down. In the past, wait a second. In response to, wait a second, there we are. In the past 11 years, farmers are the only major property tax class that have their tax burden increase. Anyone looking at these facts would come to a logical conclusion that there is no justification to increase the farm tax ratio, as would only add further burden to the farmers. If the farm tax ratio has to be changed, the numbers would suggest that they be lowered and not raised. With the help of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, we have compiled a list of other single-tier municipalities that have the ratio below the maximum. This clearly shows that Chatham-Kent is in line with our neighbors and peer municipalities. In response to the uncertainty of COVID-19, the province has made the decision to pause the impact reassessment that was scheduled for 21. The province still has not directed impact to carry out an updated reassessment. Staff has assumed in the past that residential values will outpace farmland values in the next reassessment as a justification for increasing the farm tax ratio. However, there is no impact reassessment data to support this. Without the updated assessment, the values from impact, it is simply not possible for Council to make an informed decision about tax ratio. Council has made the decision in the past to defer until impact has brought new data forward. It is the Kent Federation's opinion that Council needs to make that decision again. To make the decision on changing farm tax ratio without using current impact data would mean that Council intends to make decisions with a blindfold on. This decision should be made when all current information can be analyzed to ensure that all ratepayers are sharing the burden equally. By raising the ratio without impact's report to Council, it could put undue burden on the agricultural community. Thank you.
Next, we have the Chatham-Kent Christian Farmers, and then on deck is Louis Rush.
The Mayor and Council. The Chatham-Kent Essex Christian Farmers are very troubled by the motion to increase the farm tax ratio from the current rate of 0.22 from the current rate. Assessment values on farmland have been disproportionate to other tax classes, resulting in a greater share of the tax levy being borne by farmland. Table 10, Weighted Assessment Changes from the Tax Policy 2023 Amendment PDF in your package, shows that this assessment change continues to be disproportionate, with farmland assessment increasing at a rate of 2.37 times greater than that of residential and over 4.1 times greater than that of commercial. To balance the tax burden would in fact require a reduction of the farm tax ratio. We are further concerned that the 2024 assessments will further increase this disproportionate burden. As the rural areas of the municipality have bore witness to a reduction in support to our infrastructure needs, evidenced by the multitude of load-rated bridges, blocked-off bridges, dead-end roads, narrowing gravel roads, and difficult intersections now commonplace on the gravel road network. It is impossible to see the logic in this ongoing tax hike. It is unjust to burden the farmland with higher taxes to support ongoing urban development that often destroys the very farmland we depend on for the country's food security. We truly hope you will appreciate the impacts of the proposal to increase the farm tax ratio and not support the change. Thank you.
Next up, we have Louis Roush, and then on deck is Glenda Johnston.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak. We've not had an impact reassessment since 2016. The municipality uses impact data to balance the burden on all taxpayers. So Chatham-Kent has increased the tax levy from 5.6% in 2012 to 11.6% in 2021. And farmers in Chatham-Kent have paid an additional $45 million in property taxes. This staggering increase in farm tax burdens has saved each residential property taxpayer an average of $979 in property taxes. So the justification for increasing the farm tax ratio, however, there is no impact data. So without updated assessment values from impact, it is simply not possible for council to make an informed decision about tax ratio policies. Council has made a decision in the past to defer this until impact has brought new data forward. It is the OFA's opinion that council needs to make this decision again. To make decisions on changing the farm tax ratio without using current impact data would mean that council intends to make decisions without the facts to base this increase on. This decision should be made when all current information can be analyzed and ensured that all ratepayers are sharing the burden equally. By raising the ratio without impacts report, council could not put undue burden on agriculture, on the agriculture community. Thank you.
The last of our deputations are all on item 21B, which is the motion by Councillor Jubenville regarding flag raisings. First up is Glenda Johnston, and next is Ian Johnston, and then Janet Johnston.
Good evening. Honorable Mayor and Council, I felt the need to speak up regarding the motion to no longer allow organization flags to be raised at City Hall or any other locations throughout the municipality. Council, many of the people you represent are members or have someone they love associated with each flag that is raised and proudly flown. Each time a different flag goes up, it serves the community as a reminder that we are indeed diverse, that Black Lives Matter, that mental health is important, that Terry Fox was a hero, and our long-gone veterans are still thought of. These are only a few examples of what this community has to offer, and with each flag raising, it brings the issue to the forefront and gets people talking. I'm proud to be Canadian, and with each flag flown, represent all of us and our diverse community. Thank you for your time.
Next up, we have Ian Johnston, and then Janet Johnston. After that is Nancy Kay.
Mayor Caniff and Council, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'm a pediatrician who's practiced here in Chatham for the past 26 years. I'm concerned about the proposed motion to allow only the Canadian provincial and municipal flags on municipal flagpoles. Although I'm concerned broadly about the motion in principle, I've come primarily to express concerns about the effect of the change on the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. When I first began to practice in Chatham, I had no particular interest or expertise in caring for gender diverse youth of the area. Over the past 10 years, it's become increasingly evident that there's a large and growing population of non-gender conforming youth in the region. This trend is seen consistently across the country and across the world. Gender diverse youth struggle for recognition at home, at school, and in the community. The needs of this population are such that caring for transgender youth now makes up more than half of my outpatient practice. Raising the trans and pride flag sends a strong message to queer youth that they are valued community members. This affirmation is not something that they hear frequently enough. As the authors of this motion have pointed out, the city has not accommodated all groups that have requested that their flags fly in front of municipal buildings. Decisions have been made, perhaps in an arbitrary fashion. The proposed motion suggests that we impose fairness by eliminating all but governmental flag. This approach causes pain to the many rather than offending or disappointing the few. We are not unique in Chatham-Kent. Many town and city councils across the province have discussed these issues. Most recognize that some symbols are offensive and inappropriate for display on municipal property, while others are widely supported. And there will be cases where well-meaning people disagree. Most regions have addressed the problem by drafting a policy delineating an acceptable flag. Creating an approach that is fair and equitable could be challenging. Developing a made-in-CK solution is the privilege and burden of being a city councillor, but I do note that the guidelines that have been developed across the province are remarkably similar. I encourage the council to reject this motion. While flying no special interest flags could be construed as fair, it sends a negative message about the community, and it robs our community of an inexpensive, visible, and powerful means of celebrating the many groups that contribute to our wonderful region. Thank you.
Next up, we have Janet Johnston, followed by Nancy Kay, and then Greg Simpson.
Mayor Caniff, members of council, and guests. I am speaking to you as chair of the affirming committee of St. Paul's Victoria Avenue United Church. In 2022, 2 existing United Churches amalgamated, and the resulting congregation is currently the only designated affirming congregation in Chatham-Kent. To be affirming means to be explicitly, intentionally, and publicly welcoming of everyone. All churches say all are welcome, but clearly saying that 2S LGBTQIA+ folks are a part of and embraced in every part of our church life is essential. Society has come a long way, but churches have inherited centuries of transphobic and homophobic oppression carried out in the name of God and the Bible. Organizations must be very clear when saying they are welcoming. I feel the same is true of our community. Celebrating diversity and inclusiveness by explicitly naming organizations and groups gives people a chance to see what our community is all about. Honoring groups that commemorate our history and have shaped our culture give us a time to reflect and feel gratefulness. Naming groups who have raised money to help people with special needs in our community encourages people to keep giving and honors those who work so hard to make this happen. Raising flags in our municipality show the community who we are, a loving, diverse, and inclusive community. Other cities have faced challenges with flag raising requests and have created clear policies to guide these decisions. Flags must represent or reflect the values of our municipality. A link to the City of Ottawa and the City of Toronto's flag raising policies can easily be found online. Thank you for allowing me to share these thoughts on behalf of St. Paul's Victoria Avenue United Church.
Next up, we have Nancy Kay, and then Greg Simpson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. My name is Nancy Kay. Please consider this my deputation documenting my disagreement with the motion moved by Councillor Jubenville re the cessation of all flag raisings outside of federal, provincial, and municipal flags across the municipality. As you know, this proposal serves to end all flag raisings across the municipality and promote the public awareness campaigns and other community organizations. This response to the controversy is just not the way to go. The CK Council is entertaining this motion of no more flags for Black History Month, Truth and Reconciliation Week, Black Lives Matter, Terry Fox Lives Here, Transgender Awareness, the Mental Health Network, the Kiwanis Music Festival, Veterans Week, Pride Week, flags to raise awareness for ending gender-based violence across Ontario, to celebrate and honor the work of the VON. I believe Community Living is looking to raise a flag this week. It raises grave concerns for me. Read the content of your debate this evening. I'm saddened that you're forced to debate a motion that is so ill-founded and contrary to the values of inclusion, equity, and justice. And I encourage you to maintain open minds and open hearts as you seek to preserve a safe and welcoming space for all during your discussions. As you've heard, rather than banning flag raising, some cities have written clear policies to address the request to raise a flag. A well-considered approach such as this is what Chatham-Kent needs, and I encourage you this evening to consider that. A caring community does not silence the celebration of days of commemoration and awareness. A caring community seizes every opportunity to promote equity, inclusion, and diversity. And if I may steal from my favorite Chatham-Kent flag, hate has no home here.
So next up is Greg Simpson. He did record a video just in case he wasn't able to make it tonight. So is Mr. Simpson here in the audience? Okay, I will start his video. And next to speak is going to be Marianne Wilson.
Good evening to the members of the Chatham-Kent Municipal Council. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is Greg Simpson. I'm the minister at St. Andrew's United Church in downtown Chatham. And I want to speak to the motion which is suggesting we limit all of the flags that get raised at municipal centers in our municipality. Now, as a person who works very closely with underrepresented communities in our area, I understand how important it is for people who don't see themselves represented in some of the structures of power to be able to see that the municipality and other organizations are visibly supportive of those groups. I would like to acknowledge and support the fact that there certainly needs to be a comprehensive and transparent policy around flag raising so that we can address this issue head on. And I want to thank Council for this opportunity to have conversation about this particular issue. But the motion as it's currently worded, I think will actually work against its stated goals of building inclusion and reducing controversy. See, raising the flag of a community of people who are in our community but don't show up in all of the spaces and places and structures of power is a really beautiful visual representation of how we, the municipality, the community at large, support those groups. In times when they are feeling like they are no longer heard, this is an active step that we can take to say, you belong here. So if we go ahead with a motion that eliminates those flags altogether, I think what we're going to do is build exclusivity into our municipal policies. And I don't think that is the community that we want to create. I fear that it would undermine our relationships with these important groups of our community and make them feel excluded or diminished, or that their voices are no longer being heard and don't matter. I suggest that we consider deeply how the motion as it stands would impact all of the communities in our area. The LGBT community, our Indigenous friends, the Black community, special interest groups and organizations who have had an opportunity to see that they mattered in the eyes of the municipality by looking up and seeing their flags flying over communities. What message will we be sending to those particular groups by saying your flag is no longer welcome here? I am encouraged to know that communities in our surrounding area, other municipalities, have looked at this issue in the past, and some of them have some comprehensive, fair, and transparent policies that address this particular issue. Perhaps the Chatham-Kent municipality can look to some of our friends and neighbors, learn from their wisdom, work with our local groups and stakeholders, and create a healthy, transparent, and uplifting, inclusive policy around flag raising for our community. So, councillors, I invite you to turn down the motion as it is currently written and instead work towards a deeper conversation about the flags and the other ways that we can support underrepresented groups in our community. Thank you so much for listening to me this evening, and thank you for this opportunity for us to have this very important conversation. I look forward to the ongoing development of this discussion.
Mayor Kenneth, councillors, guests in attendance today. My name is Marianne Wilson, and I represent the Chatham-Kent Gay Pride Association. We disagree with Councillor Jubenville's motion regarding flag raisings. The Rainbow Pride flag was first raised in the municipality of Chatham-Kent in the year 2000. In 2018, the transgender pride flag was raised, the awareness flag. Pride flags are a signal of support, safety, and hope for the 2S LGBTQIA+ community worldwide. And when the municipality raises these flags, it shows collective concern for the dignity of the marginalized. Prohibiting flag raising insults the memories of those we've lost to homophobia and transphobia and indicates an indifference to continued violence and oppression. CK Pride emphasizes that inclusivity, representation, and freedom of expression must include justice. Justice asks for consideration of the harms of including groups that use speech and symbols that run contrary to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Policies that include all groups' flags would give a platform for those who would advocate or promote hate. We encourage the municipality to develop a flag-raising policy that includes an evaluation based on diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. Thank you for hearing our voices.
Next up, we have Wanda Winfield and then Jane Wright.
Good evening. My name is Wanda Winfield, and I am a resident of Chatham-Kent, currently living in Tupperville in North Kent. I am speaking about the flag issue, asking the council to reconsider the policy, and I have a prepared deputation here. I am writing about the issue of raising flags at the municipal offices. I believe that the policy of the City of Ottawa is an appropriate model. To quote, the revised flag protocol will require the group making the request to have a mandate program or activity that is directly connected to the municipality or that aligns with days of awareness, celebration, importance, commemoration, or promotion that are recognized by the Ontario and/or federal government or a ministry or department thereof. I have attended many flag raisings within Chatham-Kent, and there are many people of diverse backgrounds who attend these raisings, including families and children. Allow me to give you, to have this opportunity to give you some history on the background of the rainbow flag. The use of the flag dates back to 1978 in California. It represents LGBTQ+ community, which is made of all backgrounds, colors, religions, and ages. It doesn't make any political statement, although many people have opinions on it. It does not represent any political party. In the 80s, it was our standard under which we marched, celebrated, and grieved. It covered the caskets of many people during the AIDS crisis. It is not a banner which conveys a particular message and represents specific people. Our flag has been amended to include trans people and racialized people. The rainbow flag is for everyone who values justice and freedom. I hope this information helps. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jane Wright, and then our last person speaking will be Maureen Geddes.
Hello, can you hear me? Am I okay? I can't see with these on very well, far away. I'm appreciating, my name is Jane Wright, as you just heard. You can hear me, right? No? Oh, can you hear me? Oh, well, that's not my fault. Can you hear me now? Okay, I'll lean into it. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing some presentations tonight, and I do appreciate hearing all the views. I really do. I am Jane Wright, a longtime resident of Chatham-Kent. Full disclosure, I am currently a board member of Right to Life Kent / Life in Motion, the group whose flag request was not responded to by the Mayor's office. Right to Life Kent has been operating here for over 45 years and has thousands of local supporters. Councillor Jubenville is not a member. I can safely say that she is a supporter. Please note, I am not representing Right to Life Kent. I am only speaking for myself. The board is unaware of this deputation. Also, please be aware that I have connections with and love for many of the groups that currently, let me say that one again. Please be aware that I have connections with and I love people in many of the groups that currently fly flags on municipal properties. I support the right of every group of good intent to fly their flag. However, because the current flag decision-making is arbitrary and the sole responsibility of the Mayor's office, I support Councillor Jubenville's motion. Councillor Jubenville is correct that the three government flags do represent every citizen. We are blessed and have much to celebrate in Chatham-Kent. Should her motion be defeated and a flag policy be established, it might not be an improvement. Many taxpayer dollars would be spent reviewing each application, and decisions could still be arbitrary if someone has an axe to grind against a group. With Councillor Jubenville's motion, there is no expense, no dissension, and no discrimination. All citizens are represented by the three government flags. This seems simplest and fairest. Her motion is not against any particular group. As she stated on CTV News and Post Media, she would support a pro-choice group's request to fly a flag if there was one. My understanding of what prompted Councillor Jubenville's motion was the fact that Right to Life Kent made a flag request to the Mayor's office and councillors for the month of May and did not receive a reply. Anyone who knows Councillor Jubenville knows she's a take-action person. She assumed support would be given in the light that that we have many flag raisings in Chatham-Kent. When no reply was forthcoming at all, she formulated her current motion in the effort of fairness for community groups in Chatham-Kent. In one way, she should be thanked for trying to right what she thought was a slight to a community group. She meant nothing against any other group as stated and has made that very clear. I am not here tonight to complain that a group I'm involved with had its flag request ignored. It would have been nice to have municipal support and recognition, but it does not affect our membership and our reason for being at all. I am here to see the value, because I see the value of Councillor Jubenville's motion for the municipality, and I support it for the reasons given until something more inclusive comes along. Beyond that, I am aghast that Councillor Jubenville has been personally slammed, insulted, and even wished dead by some citizens of Chatham-Kent. Eek, I'm running out of time. This is the most shocking and upsetting aspect of her flag motion to me. One can state their case without stooping to nastiness. Councillors don't deserve that, and no one does. This whole dust-up has highlighted a few areas of municipal governments that might need improving. If it remains the mayor's office as the sole decision maker, that office needs to reply to all groups that make a flag request as a common courtesy. Training for new councillors should include a flag protocol so no new councillor is blindsided. Beyond that, citizens need to be kind, whatever their views. Wasn't that supposed to be the great lesson of the pandemic? Let alone the golden rule that dates back thousands of years. Let's be known in Chatham-Kent for being kind. Oops, can I have one more paragraph? Yes? I believe this temporary quandary will have a positive outcome in Chatham-Kent. It may just take time. In the off chance there's a stalemate, here's the thought. Perhaps Councillor Jubenville's motion could be a ballot question at our next municipal election. The residents of Chatham-Kent could have their say, and it might increase voter turnout, which was a dismal 30.56% last election. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration.
We're going to move on to our next deputation from Maureen Geddes.
Sorry, I'd like to interject just for a second here. I normally don't interject during deputations, but Ms. Wright really hit the nail on the head on one particular issue I want to highlight. And I just want to read pretty much verbatim what the one paragraph that she said. Beyond that, I'm aghast that Councillor Jubenville has been personally slammed, insulted, and even wished dead by some citizens of Chatham-Kent. This is the most shocking and upsetting aspect of her flag motion to me, to her. One can state their case without stooping to nastiness. Councillors do not deserve that. No one does. I want to emphasize that point as we debate here, whatever it is, we're debating ratios, raising flags, whatever it is we're debating, we're here as a society to make us better. So death threats or anything along that line is completely unacceptable. So I encourage everyone, as we're debating these issues, whatever they are, whether they're here in council chambers, out in the streets, or online, please be respectful of people. You can get your points across without being nasty, without doing those things. So I encourage that as we move forward. Thank you.
Now we'll move on to our final deputation from Maureen Geddes.
Mayor and Council, thank you. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Mongitima Indigenous Network, as we have been asked by several community partners to share our perspective about the flag-raising motion that is being brought before you. Mongitima is an Ojibwe word meaning we come together to meet with each other. The Mongitima Indigenous Network is a group of Indigenous and non-Indigenous people in what we now call Chatham-Kent who have come together with the goal of learning, listening, and advancing pathways to justice for Indigenous peoples. We come from communities and organizations that are early on in our own learning and reconciliation journeys. In response to the request to comment, we offer as a metaphor the two-row wampum, or Guswenta. It is a visual representation of the coexistence of two peoples. The two parallel purple lines symbolize a separate but equal relationship between two nations in one canoe, one in a canoe and one in a ship, navigating the river, which is represented by the white between the rows of purple. The paths don't cross, and neither is meant to interfere or steer the other. The three white rows represent trust, friendship, and peace, the basis of all our interactions. Extending this metaphor, flag raisings are a process that are part of the ship system. Because of that, it is not the place for Mongitima to have an opinion on the flag raising policy or practice.
If we can offer one thought from our own experience of trust, friendship, and peace, is that they are realized for us when they are weaved into and lived out through our collective work together. We seek to embody our organization's purpose and live it through learning and action by each of us. As the municipality considers changing flag raising practices, it may be helpful, as it has been for us on such difficult subjects, to have dialogue with communities of interest to gather input, foster understanding, and reflect the nuances that go along with flag raisings. They hold different meanings and values for different people. We thank you for taking the time to look at the challenging decision of how to determine what is necessary, what is fair, and what is workable. We hope that our feedback may be received in the spirit of friendship with which it is offered. Miigwech, Mazagadats, Marcy, thank you.
Well, I move on to item 16. Oh, sorry, consent agenda.
Yep, we're now going to go to the consent agenda. The following items have been pulled for discussion. Item 16C, RFP award for supply and application of dust suppressants, pulled by Councillor Doyle and Councillor Sakachi. 16D, tender award for Kyle Drive South Extension, pulled by Councillor Story. Item 17A, CK to the Power of Young People 2022 Survey and Advisory Group Update. It's a presentation by administration, and also Councillor Story has some questions. Item 17B, Greenhouse Lighting Bylaw, pulled by Councillor Anderson, Doyle, Sakachi, and Story. 18A, Tax Policy 2023, pulled by Councillors Anderson, McGrail, Thompson, Finn, Doyle, Sakachi, and Pinsino. 18B, motion by Councillor Sakachi regarding purchasing process review, pulled by Councillor Sakachi and Councillor Doyle. Item 18C, land acquisition, 495 Wallace Street in Wallaceburg. It's pulled because Councillor C. McGregor has a conflict. 19B, municipal summer camp fees, pulled by Councillor Anderson and B. McGregor. 20B, motion by Councillor C. McGregor regarding rental of 2 mini excavators, pulled by Councillor C. McGregor and Councillor Sakachi. And finally, 21B, motion by Councillor Jubenville regarding flags at Chatham-Kent Municipal Centers, pulled by Councillor Jubenville, Crew, B. McGregor, Bondi, and Anderson. So that leaves us with the following items to be approved under consent. 15A, 15B, 15C, 15D, 16A, 16B, 16D, 16E, F, G, 17C, D, E, 20A, and 21A.
Councillor B. McGregor and Councillor Wright, can I get you to move the consent agenda, please?
So moved. I'll second it, thank you.
Any questions? Seeing none, we'll put it to vote.
All votes are in and motion passes 17-0.
Now we'll move on to tender awards, item 16.
16C, RFP award for supply and application of dust suppressants.
Councillor Doyle and Councillor Sakachi, can I get you to move this, please? I'm happy to move that, Mayor.
Seconded, Mayor Caniff.
Councillor Doyle, the floor is yours.
I guess my question would just be on page 3, when it goes over the table 2, the unit price comparison. The paragraph underneath it says it is recognized that there is a sizable increase when comparing 2022 and 2023 unit prices. But when you look at the unit prices, the dust fighter low-cal is in dollars per cubic meters for 2022, and same with the high-cal. And then when you go to 2023, it's dollars per ton. So we're not using the same ratios there. So I just wondered, could we get that so we know what the actual same ratios are per cubic ton, so we know what the increase is, because it's hard to tell what the increase is when they're not in the same units.
Thank you, through the mayor, to the councillor. I don't have that table with me here tonight, councillor. would have to go back to speak to staff. In general, the increase is substantial compared to the previous tender that we did have. Providing just some context here, back in 2019, we did put this tender out for a 3-year term. It was prior to COVID, so we've seen the substantial increases in all materials, fuel costs, wages, insurance, and bonding, in particular for this contract. We have, as staff, reached out to surrounding municipalities in terms of their costs related to this item as well, and they've seen very similar increases.
Okay, yeah, I presume there would be an increase. It would just be nice, I guess, to know what it is with the same units as opposed to trying to figure that out ourselves when we're not sure. So, and then I did have a constituent reach out to me last week actually, and they were saying that how the application for the dust suppressants, say in the Dover area, was quite a bit better than I think it was than Raleigh or Harwich. So would you potentially use different contractors for different sections of Chatham-Kent for the rural areas, or would it be all the same? I might have missed that in here if it does say that.
Thank you. Through the mayor to the councillor. The contractor would be Denmark Brines Limited, so it would be the same contractor throughout the municipality.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Councillor Sakatchi.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. Mine's more so a comment than a question. I just think it's really important that a lot of these reports that are approved, basically during the year, when we're talking about the tax at the end of the year, the tax, rates and the increases and all that, I think a lot of these reports, they don't really get proper coverage from the media to really note the increases that we see as a municipality. And a lot of times when we're seeing these types of things, they think it's due to deficiencies or basically improper spendings. But this is an area that I hear concerns about all the time. The amount of stuff I've learned about dust suppressant in the last 4 years is something I never would ever anticipated. I can say that for certain. But I guess just more of a comment to Mr. Quinton is that when we are, and I know I've said this stuff many times, but when we are speaking to upper levels of government and different boards across the Ontario, is this a common situation that a lot of other municipalities are saying? Because I keep saying the words breaking point and teetering, and I just don't understand how municipalities with the size and the geographical size of Chatham-Kent can continue to see basically a double in service. So I have to support this because, the people that live on gravel roads deserve to do so and enjoy their outside. But in the same sense, how do we keep approving double costs of these types of items? And I just wanted to see, Mr. Quinton, if other groups are kind of concerned about these costs, or Edward, Mr. Soldo, if you can comment on this, if this is a concern with other municipalities as well.
Thanks, Mayor Caniff. I'll go first, and Edward, if you have anything else to add. So yes, this, in general, infrastructure costs skyrocketing out of control is one of the biggest pressures we're going to have over the next decade, and the current system means that it flows on property taxpayers. We got all this inflation, but our provincial grants, for example, our OCF, $10 million that we're getting per grant, we got no inflation increase for 2023, and we won't for 2024 either. And so the grant levels are sort of federal gas tax. There's a new name for it, but it's sort of the same where it's at the $6 million and hasn't changed in years as well. So they're not keeping up with inflation from our upper levels. We do need help, and whether it's a share of the HST or some other revenue tool. Otherwise, we're at very high tax increases for the next decade.
Maybe I'll just add on to that, through the mayor to the councillor. This is a pressure that all municipalities are seeing. Speaking to my counterparts across Southern Ontario, the GTA, we're all seeing really elevated increases in our construction costs, everything from asphalt to simple items as dust suppressant. So this is something that wasn't anticipated, but when you start to think about the supply chain, the fuel costs, wage costs that have gone up, the scarcity of manpower. All of those, little by little, it's, adds up. Number of cuts add up to quite a bit of substantial cut in the or increase at the end of the day. So it is something that we'll have to proactively track. And when we're looking at our budgets, it will mean that we're going to have to prioritize based on risk and based on our level of service priorities that council is giving us.
Thank you. And just my closing comment would be that I think it's just important to know, when we're talking budget at the, the beginning of next year, the fact that if we, it has a major impact on our rural constituents. It's just very unfortunate. Every report that's coming to council anymore, the costs are so much significant than budgeted for, and so much over cost over the last 2 years. And I feel that we're going to get to a point where we're going to have to start choosing between what services are we going to do, and that's a very scary thought. So thank you.
Councillor Pinsino.
Thank you, Worship. Now that if this passes tonight, will we, as soon as the half load law comes on, will they be ready to start spreading? That is the #1 complaint we're getting now. We had that real dry week, and the roads are dusty. Like, it doesn't matter where you go, it's nasty.
Through the mayor to the councillor, once this contract's in place, then we'll be reaching out to the contractor and getting them ready to start for the season. Depending on the weather conditions, we'll obviously be calling them as required.
But traditionally in the past, as soon as the half load comes off, you start the process of putting it on. I know you got to talk to the contractor.
Through the mayor to councillor, I can't speak to history here, but I'm assuming we'll be following the same procedures as we have in the past.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, we'll put it to vote.
All votes are in and motion passes 16-0. The next item, 16D, tender award for contract T23164 Kyle Drive South Extension.
Councillor Story and Councillor Crew, can I get you to put this on the floor, please?
I'd be happy to move, Mr. Mayor.
Happy to second.
Councillor Story, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is either for Edward or Gord. I noticed the cost increases on this as well. I think my comments will be similar to Councillor Sakachi from the last item, so I won't repeat them. But I see that there is an explanation on item 5 of page 5 about a payback plan in order to pay for this from the Bridge Life Cycle Reserve. For those of us who are new to the horseshoe, can you explain a little more about what that means? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in this report, there were some things not included in the original estimate, and that this ended up being larger than what we put aside in the past. So we need to pay for it this year if council wishes to get the road completed this year. What we're suggesting is basically borrowing from that Bridge Reserve Fund, because it currently has the largest cash balance of our infrastructure reserves. And when we come to our 2024 budget, when we're working on our new capital items, that we pay back the reserve out of our 2024 budget so that the Bridge Reserve remains whole for its original purpose. And what it will in essence mean is that we'll have to delay some other new project in the 2024 budget as we have to fund this 1.8 million.
Thank you. So we would be paying the entire 1.9 million in one amount next year, not spreading it out over different timeframes. It's the whole amount.
That is it. We'll consider all our options, but we would likely look at paying it back right away rather than spread that over time, because there's going to be other issues come up as well that everything else on that capital list is getting more expensive as well. So unless there's more tax funding to that capital budget, we'll have to make some hard choices on what we can move forward with in the 2024 capital budget.
Thank you. I know that's a very busy and growing area of Chatham, so certainly I support the motion. It's just unfortunate these infrastructure pressures that we are facing and these cost increases are substantial. We hear about them every meeting now, so thanks for that detail.
Councillor B. McGregor.
Thank you, Mayor Caniff. When we're talking about refunding that bridge reserve through capital budgets, would this be the type of project that would be eligible for development charge funding, like funding through DC charges? And as we start to collect those, could we then refund that reserve through DC charges?
Getting into a technical question here on timing. This capital project was approved prior to the adoption